Hello, I'm Shieldwall100 and welcome back to my games room for another Ancients battle report. Not the usual fare this time though. We're going to be playing Strength and Honor. Yes, game I recently reviewed. I've been enjoying it so much I just decided I had to put it on in the games room, and yes, mighty fine I have been finding it too. Played lots of games with this down my historical club against other people. This is going to be a solo game. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm just going to try it out, try and show off the rules a little bit, this, that and the other. Obviously, as with all my other battle reports, for the most part I'm going to presume that you have some degree of working knowledge of the rules, otherwise we'll get bogged down in details. Video will go on for way too long. I've done a review on this, detailing some of the rules, and there's plenty of resources. In fact, the Lardies have actually got a really good series on how to play this anyway, so if you are interested by what you see and you haven't checked out those videos, then absolutely do so. You've got a wealth of information available on YouTube just here, all for free. Anyway, this is the Battle of the Bagradas River. Hurrah! Curio, one of Caesar's lieutenants, has found himself in Numidia. This is Numidia. Imagine it is a dusty African plain, not a lush piece of green countryside. So I had to use your imagination for that bit. Sorry about that. But I only have one mat with a grid on it, so there we go. Yes, so anyway, Curio, one of Caesar's lieutenants, has found himself tasked with dealing with Pompeian renegades, I suppose, is the best way to... That's how Caesar would think of them. Republican heroes to themselves, probably, but renegades to Caesar. And yes, as part of that, Curio's been doing a pretty good job in of his own, considering his general lack of experience. He's pretty much been able to really applied himself, shall we say, but he's also been made aware that a relief army of Numidians underneath the Numidian king's trusted general is marching to combat him, and he has marched out of his camp, and they're going to meet in this dusty bowl here, which is not green. Just imagine it's not green. Yeah, so here we go. It's going to be a giggle. What we have here, I've done deployment, so to speak, for both sides. That's where we pick things up. The Numidians are here. Okay, we've got 2 units of vaunted Numidian cavalry, some skirmishers, 2 units of Numidian spearmen. Less said about them the better, really. They're kind of average in all respects. And with the general, just move that, the Spanish Gallic bodyguard cavalry. So yeah, these guys are quite tough, and they have the general with them. Okay, and on the Roman side, let's just do that. We have the 15th Legion here. Oh no, 15th Legion are in the middle, sorry, in single line, which means they get to split themselves into 2 individual units, maintain their combat value, but lose a little bit on their ability to absorb damage due to the fact they're much more don't have much by way of reserve. They've got some skirmishers out front, the demi-legion of the 16th just here, and a unit of Roman cavalry as well. Okay. So yeah, this is where we pick up. All I've got to really do is determine where the skirmish lines are going, and are they going to be absorbed into adjacent units. For both sides I've decided they will be. Keep it simple. Right, so the skirmish units, this is actually a unit. It can break down into 4 lines to give combat bonuses to adjacent ones. So we're actually going to put them all with the Numidian spearmen because they probably need the help the most. So here we go. So 2 lines apiece to keep it fair. Wouldn't want one side thinking they've got dibs over the other, but yeah, so they've got two lines apiece. One goes in front, one goes behind each, to hopefully give them a bit of stuff. That opens up a bit of a gap between the Numidian cavalry and their spearman line, which is fine. They want to be doing a lot of manoeuvre and harassing with their cavalry to break the Romans up before things get tasty later on. So yeah, I've got a feeling that the general's unit's going to get some good use in as well. Right, let's just pop round the table. See the Romans. So these skirmishers really have to be divvied up between the 2 legions. And yeah, I was really toying with the idea of keeping the skirmishers as a unit of their own. But in the end I thought, nah, we want to make sure that the legions have got as much fighting capacity as possible. So whilst the Numidians have deployed fairly compactly, because they've got more manoeuvrability to split up later on, the Romans have gone in one single long line to be as wide as possible. What they want to do is just move forward and catch the Numidians before they can really stretch their legs. Okay, so they'll be jetting up the board, and their general, as you can see, is joined the 15th in the middle to keep it nice and simple. Right, that's pretty much it. Nothing else to really relate apart from what's quickly on the command boards. So I've done these. These are the Romans. They've got their augurs were pretty poor, unfortunately. They didn't get too many extra dice. Oh, that's there. Oh, sorry. And this should be over here. My mistake. So yes, got 1 in attack, 2 in defense because their single lines are not particularly beefy, 2 in movement to make sure they don't get embarrassed by those fast moving Numidians, and Curio has 1 generalship point as well. Their army break point is 12. For the Numidians, they rolled much better. They got 1 generalship point for their leader, 1 in defense, 2 in attack, and 3 in movement, because they really don't want to get embarrassed themselves either. And because, you know, a few 1s for movement could really stall them and get them caught. They don't want that. And their army break point is 13, so it's a pretty even battle. Okay, right, that's that. I'm going to take a break now, get my beer, and I shall return shortly to do some moves. The Romans won the dice off to see who goes first, and in order to keep their formation intact, their commander used one of the 2 movement command points to move the entire line up simultaneously. They all move at the speed of the infantry, even the cavalry when they do this, unfortunately, but figured it was worth it to keep everything safe. And of course I duly rolled a 1 just there. Nice. So I kind of had to spend the other command movement point off of the Roman command board. So yeah, it's gone empty. Get a 4 though, so they moved up 2 points. So that's a very inefficient use of my resources. I am well aware of that, but I couldn't really have the entire Roman line sitting there doing nothing on a roll of a 1. So the 4 came up, that's 2 squares. They bundled for themselves forwards. All going very well. Must be a gust of dusty wind off this arid plain that you see before you causing this. But as you can see, the gap has closed quite a lot. There's only a matter of 4 squares in between the 2 sides at this point. So that does, I'm sure the Numidians would much rather the Romans had kept the 1. Numidians really need to make use of their movement actions, so they did, but they can waste their command points as well, rolling an immediate 1 for one of their Numidian cavalry, which they had to reroll. But as you can see, generally speaking, they started to fan their 2 units of, well, famous Numidian-like cavalry out. These ones making a beeline for the side of the board, and these ones just starting to vector to their left to try and envelop the Roman lines a little bit. We'll see if these guys can get out. They might just be facing down the Roman cavalry themselves, but they're skirmishers, so they might be able to dance away from them a little bit. The Numidian spearmen actually, the rest of the Numidian line actually moved up a square as well, conscious that they don't have an awful lot of room to retreat into. Should worse comes to worse, they don't want to end up picking up disaster cards due to units being pushed back a couple of squares. That would suck balls for them, trust me. And that's it, yeah. Can the Numidians develop a trap of their own, or will the Romans shut them down too quickly? Those wascally Romans are really closing the gap, and yes, the infantry line started to activate individually now. No more movement tokens to really do it, but yes, so they continue to close in on the Numidian line, and the Roman cavalry actually managed to launch a surprise attack on their Numidian counterparts, catching the skirmishers off guard. They did have a 3 dice combat though, with a combat value of 4 versus 2, and actually managed to roll a 6, which was not defended by the Numidian cavalry and was sent back. To add insult to injury, the Numidians failed their discipline test despite using a defense die to re-roll it, and yeah, they got disordered into the bargain. So 2 setback cards for the Numidians. What do they say? Nobody knows. And yes, a Numidian unit in disorder already and dangerously close to their deployment zone edge as well. So yikes! Right, so that's everything the Romans tried to activate was successful. The Numidians have really got to start working some magic soon. Well, Numidians have actually made some use of their turn. This unit of Numidian cavalry has managed to scoot out of the way of its comrades, so the battle can continue without them getting in the way. Over here the Numidian cavalry did manage to rally themselves up, but not before the Numidian spearmen to their side declared a charge on the Roman cavalry, pivoted with a successful manoeuvre roll and hit the Roman cavalry in the flank, which actually caused the Roman cavalry to retire disordered. So 2 setback cards to the Romans for that. Does, however, leave these Numidian spearmen, their battle line, part of their battle line at least, hanging a little bit in the air. Only 3 spaces away from a demi-legion of Romans, but they're going to gamble that that's enough to give them time to settle back into a combat formation before, at least a combat facing, before anything too bad happens to them. But we'll have to see if the Romans are up for taking some risks or not. But yeah, the Roman cavalry being sent packing was a bit of a surprise, but these things do happen in war. Okay, well, the Romans did take a risk and they managed to get that charge home, but it wasn't the first thing they did this turn. They're not completely crazy. But nonetheless, this demi-legion of the 15th crunched into the Numidian spearmen's side and caused them to push them back. But the Numidians managed to hold their nerve and, they haven't failed their discipline test. The Roman cavalry managed to recover from their disorder, which was a bit of a breath of relief for them. Meanwhile, their 2 other line infantry units have moved up 1 space apiece, just keeping themselves in check and not willing to fall into quite the obvious trap that the Numidians have laid for them. But at some stage you've just got to commit, and at some point they probably will. But what will the Numidians do in the meantime? Well, they've got some options. Let's see which ones will play out for them. Well, the Numidians have pulled off some quite good stuff. First of all, their cavalry here, recently reformed, managed to pivot on the spot, move forward and start throwing javelins into the backs of the Roman cavalry just here. Didn't actually cause any damage, but they are now, more or less holding them up by being in their way. And the Romans have to turn around to do anything about them, etc., etc. So yeah, these Numidian cavalry will be pinning down a possibly more valuable unit of Romans. Okay, for the Numidian spearmen who've been hit in the side, actually not only managed to, they declared a charge on the demi-legion which was hassling them so badly. Not only did they successfully roll high enough to turn, they managed to turn with a manoeuvre with enemy nearby. Pretty good, and then I even managed to get a push, get a what's it called, a 5 on the combat dice, which wasn't defended by the Romans, which caused them to. They didn't push them back a whole square, but it gives the Romans a setback card. The demi-legion, however, managed to pass their discipline test, though, nonetheless. But that has denuded the spearmen here of all of their skirmishes, so yeah, not looking too good for them now, as the Romans are now angry. Numidian cavalry over on the far side rolled a 1 for their move, so they're not going anywhere, and the remaining 2 units didn't fancy getting closer to the scary Romans. So that concludes Numidian turn for now. Over to the Romans. Ooh, the 15th Legion are really getting to grips with this game as they both crunched into their Numidian enemies in front of them, both causing pushbacks, and the Numidians are very close to their baseline now. 1 bad pushback and they're gone, but not good for the Numidian line here. They're going to have to pull some tricks out with their cavalry. The 16th tried to move up support but rolled a 1, failed, so they're not going anywhere, and the Roman cavalry tried to manoeuvre to turn around to face the Numidians as a charge, or anything, to be honest. They had to to do something, so they said they might as well have charged, and they failed the manoeuvre test, unfortunately. Rolled a 1. Both sides have absolutely rinsed their command boards, as you can see. Both denuded of all types of counters except a generalship point for the Numidians and a defence point for the Romans. Currently the Numidians are sitting there on 5 setback cards to the Romans 3, and they are, well, in danger of being pushed back off the board. However, the Romans have buried deep into their line, so if the Numidians can pull some trickery off with their cavalry, of which they do have plenty, then who knows, we could get some horrible reversals. But it's not looking good for the Romans right now, I have to say. Not looking good for the Numidians right now, I have to say. Oof, sorry about that. Awesome turn the Numidians did just have, as their cavalry really did pull it out the fire for them somewhat. First of all, their cavalry on the left here threw some desultory javelins at their Roman counterparts and raced back towards the middle, imposing a flank penalty upon the Romans, who were then forced back by the Numidian spearmen in front of them. To here, the other cavalry moved along, threw some javelins at the 16th and disordered them for their part, allowing the Spanish Gallic bodyguard to slam into the side of the 15th, pushing them into the side of their friends, and causing this kind of conglomerate patch just here. But yes, all the Romans the 15th managed to pass their discipline test, so they're still in good order, but they're not necessarily in good shape, and the Romans have just taken a bunch of setback cards into the bargain, and they're in something of a precarious situation. Aid is not going to be coming to them anytime soon from the 16th. Maybe their cavalry can do something, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, it's a bit of a mess, this one, as the Romans find themselves enveloped on both sides by the Numidians. And lousiness strikes for the Romans. There was a whole bunch of bad choices they could have made to try and cut their way out of this situation. The 15th here could have tried to force their way through these Numidian spearmen, but given the odds, they're on 2 dice the Numidians pick. That wasn't necessarily the best. The Roman cavalry are still facing away from the enemy, so for them to declare a charge, they would have not needed to roll high enough to turn around and get into the back of these Numidians. But they had to pass another manoeuvre test to do so, and I've been failing them left, right and centre. So what we went with was the 7+ on 2 dice odds, chance to try and turn around, reform the 16th here, so that they could be free in future turns. Unfortunately, rolled a 3, was not good enough. So that has resulted in a reversal of fortune for the Romans. These guys are now sort of stuck because the enemy's possibly about to sweep them away on multiple places. The game's the Numidians to lose at this point, I feel. Let's see how it goes. Never write off the Romans. Well, the writing was kind of on the wall. The Spanish/Gallic bodyguard attacked and routed the rearmost half of the 15th Legion, forcing them back into the Numidian cavalry, immediately disordered them, and then they routed on a second disorder there. The Numidian cavalry disordered the foremost part, and then it was routed by the Numidians, who were to the front. So the Romans were overall surrounded and destroyed. It was pretty gross. They lost their eagle into the bargain. It's another disaster card there. So they chalked up 3 disaster cards from that little bout of misfortune. Interestingly, Curio survived the combat, and he's now just jetting his way towards the disordered remains of the 16th. But we're going to call homunculus S now on the behalf of the Numidians against the Romans, and let's see. Here's their little pile. We got 12 to beat, so let's go through the setback cards. So here we go. Oh, we start with a 3. That's a good one. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, there are some zeros. 0, 0, 0, 9. 9 points so far out of 12, and 3 disaster cards. What do you think's going to happen? I don't know. So 9, 13, 18, 22. That's a score that would have routed a big army in this. But yeah, that's some unfortunate setback cards drawn. But yeah, that's pretty much nails it down. In a surprisingly historical outcome, considering the Romans got beaten soundly at the Bagradas River in real life, and they have been again today. I don't know how far along the Numidians were towards breaking, but actually, to be fair, at one point the Romans were really pushing hard on those Numidian towards that baseline, and if one of these units of soft Numidian spin had gone off the board, that would have been a disaster of their own. But Numidians really did want to suck the Romans into a trap, and well, they really did. Well, I guess that's on me. But different dice rolls. The Numidians were really burning through their movement tokens early, so if they just kept rolling some ones, and the Romans could have got in and done the dirty on them. But let's see how close the Numidians were along their 13 break point. So what have we got here? A 2, a 1, so it's 3, 4, 5. They weren't even halfway, not really surprising. But yeah, a couple of disasters in there. Who could tell what would have happened? But yes, that was just a quick run through of Strength and Honour by Mark Backhouse, and available from Reiswitz Press, I think is what it is. See my review if you want the details, and it's a bloody good game, this. I really enjoy it. These Numidians can be repurposed as Parthians just by changing the nameplate, and so plenty of replayability of just a few models. Yeah, and I hope you enjoyed this game. Any questions or what have you, put them in the comments below. I super duper enjoy playing this game. It's even better against a real opponent, trust me. You get a real sort of thrill of excitement with the dice rolling in it then, and the cards as well, and the smack talking as well. Brilliant. Anyway, that's that. I'll stop taking up your valuable time. Hopefully there'll be a few more games of this in the future, and many other things as well. Haven't given up on any of the systems I've been playing so far. Anyway, I'm Shieldwall100, and I'll see you next time.